Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started in about 5 minutes.
Okay. Can I? Am I still heard?
Yes, you're good to go.
Okay.
Welcome, everyone. This is Joyce from the Housing Alliance. We're going to get started in about 2 minutes.
Okay.
Corey?
Yes.
I don't know if there's any movement. I just got a little background.
Actually, I found the exit, and I'm letting my family out to go eat lunch in about 30 seconds.
Okay. Great. Thanks. Thanks, family. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Joyce Sacco with the Housing Alliance of Pennsylvania. It's my pleasure to join you to today's conference webinar, Win-Win Property Managers Meet Homelessness. This is a webinar we're doing today, which is the best of the Homes Within Reach 2015 conference. So we're really pleased to put on today's webinar. Before we get started, I want to provide you with logistical information. Please make sure you can get online while we talk so you can access the visual component of this presentation. You should have received an email from me this morning with instructions. First, click the Ready Talk link, enter your name, email address, and click Register, and you will be given access to the meeting. If you have questions throughout the presentation, please type them in using the chat feature in the lower left-hand screen. We will also open up the line for discussion at the end of the webinar and make sure all questions that are asked are addressed. Finally, the PowerPoint presentation will be sent out after the webinar today. I'm going to take a pause here. Corey,
Yes.
think you need to mute your phone until
Mute it?
If you can mute your phone until you speak, there's just a lot of background. So do *6 for now, and then we'll unmute you when it's time to present. Thank you. It's my pleasure to introduce our presenters today. Lynn Kirschenbaum works at the HUD Regional Administrator's Office and serves as the Regional Homeless Coordinator for a 6-state region. She previously had held positions at the Albany County Housing Authority, PHFA, and DCED. She has a master's in public administration and urban development and earned a certified property manager designation. She's a native Pittsburgher, former Harrisburg resident, and current Philadelphian. She has worked in many counties throughout Pennsylvania. Also joining us is Brad Landry. He's a housing specialist for Project Home's Veterans Housing Program. He has worked with homeless individuals and families in the Philadelphia area for over 4 years. In addition, we have Corey Burkholder. He's Lycoming County Children and Youth Outreach Caseworker. He's also works with the Williamsport NSA Association. He has helped facilitate, coordinate, and define the criteria for homelessness to implement the homeless preference at the Williamsport NSA property, which was approved in August of 2014. And finally, my pleasure to introduce Michael Simons. He's the President and Chief Executive Officer of Community Realty Management, located in Pleasantville, New Jersey. His firm manages over 8,000 units of multifamily housing located in 7 states, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and specializes in affordable and low-income housing tax credit properties. He's past national president of the Institute of Real Estate Management. Again, it's my pleasure to introduce, to start us off today, Lynn Kirschenbaum with the HUD Philadelphia office. Welcome, Lynn.
Thank you, Joyce. We're going to speak on multifamily homeless placement and vacancy reduction. The definition for those less familiar, multifamily is not just for families, which some people think, but all populations. Basically, it means buildings or complexes with more than 4 units. Many have project-based subsidies to make the unit affordable. Most have extensive amenities. If you are a housing provider, I suspect for some of you the idea of housing homeless applicants might make you uncomfortable since you don't know what to expect. But the good news is applicants must meet your program and screening requirements. You pick the sites where you want to implement the program. It's flexible on how many units you designate. And you are also the one benefiting by filling vacancies and having grateful long-term tenants. If you are not a housing provider but have clients who are homeless who need a well-maintained affordable unit, this new pool of units expands your opportunities for your client's placement, in addition to those units from the Housing Authority, CoC, and those in the private market. This is why we call this program Win-Win. It benefits both owners and clients. Now to set the context of this initiative, I want to mention Opening Doors, the first federal strategic plan to end homelessness. It establishes deadlines and goals such as ending homelessness among veterans by last December, chronic homelessness by December 2017, and families, children, and youth and all homelessness by 2020. We need everyone to step up to the plate to make this happen. HUD and the U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness selected 10 dedicating opportunities to end homelessness cities to focus on first. The city of Philadelphia is one of those 10, but we're still working to end homelessness throughout the Commonwealth and the region. As a glance at the federal homeless initiatives, I mentioned dedicating opportunities, which is where the multifamily initiative first grew out of. There was also the Mayor's Challenge and 25 cities only for veterans. We are still asking cities, counties, and states to sign up, even though the deadline passed, because we haven't ended veteran homelessness nationally yet. Who has been successful in Pennsylvania to end veteran homelessness? Lancaster City, Lancaster County, Reading, Berks, and Philadelphia. Many others in Pennsylvania signed on, including the state, which exceeded their 100-day placement goal. They are still working on ending veteran homelessness. In our HUD region, Virginia became the first state to end veteran homelessness. Some cities have boot camps, 100-day challenges, and are a part of Zero 2016 to house both chronic and veterans. And some have started to build solutions to house more families and youth. So I'm going to step back and have us all think about the population we're talking about to get rid of stereotypes about the homeless and for the skeptics. Let's see if any of this hits close to home from the list I wrote. Referrals are not all current long-term street homeless, but a person can become homeless from a job loss, divorce, or medical crisis, and it could be any of us who have an unexpected financial emergency. We'd like to include some successful models for implementing the Multifamily Homeless Placement Initiative. Let's see. Okay. That went to the wrong slide. Okay. This lists our panelists. Today we have a speaker from a large management company working in multiple states, Mike Simmons, president of CRM, and Corey Burkholder from Schindler Management Company in Lycoming County. You will hear from Brad Landry, who will explain our Philadelphia system of housing veterans, and Corey will talk about the success of housing homeless families in Williamsport. I will present the overview and Southeastern PA model. I want to emphasize that pre-screening and the service package are key components. It is a testimony that management companies with the homeless preference have already asked to place more units in the program. Okay, what are our goals for today? We have an audience with different potential partners. If you are from a property management company, please sign up today for a follow-up meeting to pursue your preference. Think about which buildings you want to start with. If you are a Continuum of Care or CoC or service provider, is it appealing to have your eligible homeless clients jump the waiting list and get an affordable unit? I know you can't answer, you're all on mute, but some of you would say yes. And some of you can partner in other ways, such as housing authorities, the VA, and the county. Everyone has a role to play in this. Okay, what are the long-term results? Again, we use Mike Simmons' term win-win, since we are bringing into the system more units for homeless placement, some of which are units that management companies may have had a more difficult time filling. If you are a property management company, or if you want to sell this program to private property management companies in your county, take a look at this slide. We also have this slide in a flyer format. What do property management companies want? Management companies want good, long-term, lease-compliant residents. They want 100% occupancy. If you are a service provider, Continuum of Care, or homeless nonprofit, you want your clients placed in good units. But in most cases, there are long and sometimes closed waiting lists or only substandard units available. The homeless preference opens some spots in well-maintained units to your clients who may already be the most in need. As long as they meet program requirements, are ready to live independently, and have ongoing services if needed. Okay, so for those of you who want to set up a program in your county, we're going to show you how we did it. We have a strong multifamily homeless preference program in Eastern PA, and homeless preferences have been established in Western PA. In Philadelphia, we had weekly, then biweekly meetings, and in Williamsport, they set the program up on their own with minor help from our office. The important thing is to have defined referral sources that come with service packages if needed, and outreach to multifamily management companies. We started with a group meeting of management agents and now have a team that follow up with those interested. The team includes the Continuum of Care, HUD, DA, Veterans Multi-Service Center, and PHFA. The program is flexible on how many and type of units. In some cases, agents have a difficult time filling efficiencies, and that is an opportunity. Now, in Philadelphia, and I guess I'll say in Pennsylvania, we're looking at all programs. In Chicago, for example, they were just doing 202 elderlies. In Pennsylvania, we're looking at Section 8 properties, the old age 11 properties, 202s, 236s, market rates, tax credits, all the programs. One of our strategies is to work from top down, owner agent, and bottom up, such as on-site, working with on-site staff for buy-in. One of the keys for our success has been to make it very easy to sign up and very quick to get approved, with a 3-question checkoff sheet to submit for preference approval. When you have when you submit that form, you send it to either Randall Sheets at HUD or Nancy Twyman at PHFA. I believe she's on the call today. We also send you a sample waiting list notification letter, a sample tenant selection plan language, and you can customize these. New in 2016 is the headquarters multifamily goal for each HUD field office to have 2% of new occupants be formerly homeless, as evidenced in their track system. Okay, a little more on how it works in Philadelphia and the surrounding county, Continuums of Care. We decided which agents to target for recruiting. I think I hear some background noise. I don't know. Sounds like some clanging there. If anybody. Okay. We decided which agents to target for recruiting and kept updating this. We developed spreadsheets for preferences and send an email to preference agents to find upcoming vacancies and record placements. Here we started with chronic homelessness and then added non-chronic and veterans. Our referring agencies here in southeastern Pennsylvania are the CoCs, several nonprofits, and the VA medical centers. We also added our housing authority and several departments at HUD to our team. PHFA works with us from both the Norristown and Harrisburg offices. Luckily, the Philadelphia CoC has services provided paid by Medicaid, mostly for behavioral health clients. And we have the person from Philadelphia on the line too, so at the end, if you have specific questions on that, we can take them. We also have services provided through programs such as Shelter Plus Care and supportive housing. For veterans, services are provided through SSVF or VASH. You will hear more about this from Brad. In other southeastern PA counties, there are some very impressive coordinated entry systems, such as in Montgomery County, where multifamily placement can be merged into their placement continuum. I know all the CoCs are working on that. Okay, as you know, many agents have properties outside of Philadelphia, which was our pilot. So we expanded the program across the state and region. Management agents have been expanding by adding other properties and additional units for homeless applicants at properties already approved for a preference. Other counties in PA have expressed interest. If you are interested and you're a management agent, let me know. For all of you, if you look at our list of owners who already have approved preferences, these companies may be interested in expanding to your county. There's also now a toolkit based on what we did in our 10 cities. This information is on our website, and the link is on the slide. Different from our model of HUD being facilitator is the option for our COC to be the lead, and we are moving towards that. Okay. I'm suggesting the properties put a question on their application to find out who's homeless so they can be counted. So you may have homeless people on your waiting list or other applicants that are not referred because this is all being tracked. So we're asking everyone to do this since now subsidized property owners have to record this on their 50059s for multifamily and 50058s for public housing and the voucher program. But if you oversee a waiting list, we're encouraging a preference submittal. This is not the complete page on this slide since I cut some of it off to fit, but basically our Eastern PA subsidized and unsubsidized homeless preference request checklist only asks 3 questions, and agents pick or fill in their choices, sign, and send in for preference approval, instead of trying to interpret steps from mass mailings of regulatory letters. The complete forms can be sent to you. There is a checklist for subsidized and a checklist for unsubsidized properties. Management companies decide which homeless definition they want to use. Unlike other programs, it's not a specific requirement, it's community need. The type of preference, such as general homeless, families, vets, other types. Selected through referrals or from the waiting list, or new marketing. And how many units and how often they will take homeless applicants as compared to from the waiting list. So all management companies send in for approval is a checklist and a revision to the tenant selection plan. We've been meeting with many management agents. Most have signed on with multiple properties. We have to wait for vacancies to come up before we can house the referrals, so we need even more commitments. We celebrated our first preference lease signing in December 2014, and we've been getting about 15 units per agent lately across the buildings. Remember, we're looking for units for all populations, singles, families, disabled, emancipated youth, etc. I want to mention a couple related spin-offs from our homeless placement program. The Federal Executive Board started an annual move-in basket drive, and that allows new homeless residents to get the things they need for their kitchens, bathrooms, etc. And one of our agents in the program offered us furniture donations from 2 private sector partners, and they came through. So that was great for the new client who was able to have their apartment furnished. But most importantly, each site has said it has been a success with the referrals they have housed. They're not just placed there and forgotten, but come with ongoing services. The 3 key messages I want to emphasize are pre-screened referrals from a limited group of referring agencies that meet frequently with the COC and HUD or lead agency, almost like case conferencing and placement match. We started weekly, then biweekly meeting. Secondly, a service package with each applicant. And finally, suggest an ongoing relationship be built between management company and referral sources. Okay, this slide focuses on Eastern PA. In Western PA, we have 5 management agents with a homeless preference for 8 properties. We have listed in this slide how many companies and projects have signed on for a preference. It is also possible to take homeless applicants off the waiting list if they qualify, or to include homeless applicants during rent-up. We've placed about 42 through homeless preference and an additional 51 through the waiting list, or rent-up. We have more preference units offered but need to wait for vacancies to occur. And in Eastern PA, we have about 15 housing authorities with a homeless preference. And in Western PA, we also have housing authorities with the preference. Okay, this slide shows the HUD leads, or you can contact your multifamily rep or your community planning and development rep. For HUD properties, all preference requests should be sent to Randall Sheets. Contact information is here. Our team can walk you through step by step. For Western PA, contact HUD Field Office Director Jane Miller. At the end of the slideshow is a sign-up sheet. please send us an email with this form attached if you're a management company. In Philadelphia, we are working with the City Homeless Office and the Department of Behavioral Health. We are working with the CoCs in the other counties as well, such as Delaware County. We have staff from our main PHFA office and the Eastern PA office in both the multifamily asset management and supportive services departments. For your non-HUD PHFA properties, please submit preference requests to Nancy Twyman. Please help us meet our national goal of ending homelessness in this country once and for all by 2020. We'll take questions at the end, but it's time for the other speakers. And we're going to start with a member of our team, Brad Landry. So go ahead, Brad.
Thank you very much, Lynn. My name is Brad Landry. I'm a housing specialist for Project Home's Veterans Housing Program, which is an SSVF grant. Lynn, you can go to the next slide. Okay. I thought I would take a minute to just quickly say what an SSVF program is for those who don't know. The VA provides grants to social service agencies to provide case management supportive services for veterans who are either literally homeless or imminently homeless, and to provide them with rapid rehousing services. Clients who enter SSVF programs like mine will get housing case management, placement into permanent housing that they are able to sustain and maintain on their own independently. Frequently, moving into permanent housing involves a variety of other services that are necessary, like assistance with their VA benefits, assistance with legal aid. All veterans in our PA SSVF program receive training on how to be a great tenant, on the rights that they have as tenants and the responsibilities that they are expected to uphold. And in many cases, temporary financial assistance for rent or security deposits, some utility arrears, moving costs are also usually included. But the gist of an SSVF program is that veterans who are in need of finding housing come to our program. They work with a case manager for 90 to 120 days and sort out some of their issues, are connected to services, and then find permanent housing. You can go to the next slide.
Okay.
So our SSVF program has been lucky to be a part of the HUD Multifamily Homeless Initiative. Lynn did an excellent job explaining the program from the HUD side of things, and I'll give you a little idea of how we work with that program from the nonprofit side, how our SSVF program works with the HUD Multifamily Initiative. We participate in these calls in meetings with the multifamily team twice a month, where we discuss any issues that have arisen, the current vacancies, potential future meetings with property managers. We assist in gathering current vacancies from our properties that have already expressed a preference, and then we share those among our members of the team. In addition to that, I can speak for myself, but I imagine other members of our team do the same thing. Once those vacancies are shared to the whole multifamily team, I also share that with my own agency team. We have 10 case managers with our grant alone. I make sure that they all have access to the current multifamily vacancies, that they know that these are preferences, and that they have access to the property managers in question and the applications that are necessary. Further, we sort of track these things in a database that we maintain that provides our case managers with a variety of housing options, but certainly the housing options that come to us via the HUD Multifamily Initiative are sort of at the top of our list. Another way that we have been working with this team is, I know myself, I have met with property managers with Lynn and members of the COC to sort of explain the program much like we're doing today, encourage them to set up a preference, explain the services that our clients receive, and really just encourage them to sort of become a part of our team so that we can continue to, so they, like we've decided, like this webinar is about, this is a win-win situation. We want to encourage them to reap the benefits of getting placements from our referral agencies, and also to realize that our referrals are coming with supports. And that being said, the most important thing probably that we do as part of this team as a social service agency is provide those supportive services to our veteran clients who are being referred to these properties. We want to make sure, our case managers want to make sure that our clients and the referrals we're making are ready for independent housing, that we've worked with them to sort of strengthen their chances of really long-term sustainable housing stability. That's our ultimate goal. You can go to the next slide. So since this is a win-win, I thought we could talk for a quick second about in what ways I see how this is a big win for everyone involved. For me as a social service agency and for all of our case managers with dozens of homeless veterans on our caseload, working with the HUD multifamily team gives us the opportunity to access vacancies and properties for our clients, particularly those who are senior citizens and with disabilities, also often those that come with subsidies, in a way that we weren't doing so before. So this is a unique opportunity for us to have access to properties and property managers in a way that we didn't have before. This multifamily, HUD multifamily initiative has really given us direct access to a variety of housing options, many of which are subsidized, that we wouldn't have had before. On top of that, by frequently connecting with these property managers in our area, we're only deepening these relationships. And the better the relationship with a person on the landlord side of things, the better chances that we're going to be able to place our needy homeless veterans in those properties. Those relationships go a long way. And when you have these regular contact with these places, of course it really gives us a great opportunity to house our veterans there. On top of that, as Lynn said, a major component of the preference is that our veterans are getting a really efficient placement process. Many times they're skipping waiting lists. We're hearing about vacancies first. And because we have those deepened relationships, our clients and our case managers and members of the multifamily homeless team are really able to quickly and efficiently place our clients in some of these properties. For me particularly, because our SSVF program is designed to be rapid rehousing, the more efficient the better, and so I think that this has worked particularly well. And then on the property manager side of things, not only are property managers in this program receiving referrals, but they're receiving referrals of clients who have really robust and thorough social service supports. The CoC is connected to a variety of social supports and case management services for their referrals. Our SSVF veterans are working with case managers, as I said before, to be connected to the benefit supports that they need, the legal aid that they need, temporary financial assistance if that's necessary, and ongoing case management that provides them not only with the typical case management tasks, but specifically really great training on what their rights and responsibilities are as tenants, what will be expected of them, and how can they best be prepared for what independent living will require of them. So in general, I think the title of this webinar as win-win is actually really, it's really fitting. It's very apropos, because in this situation, not only are we efficiently and quickly placing people who are desperately in need of housing into quality housing options, but property managers are getting referrals of clients that are ready for independent housing, and that everyone has a vested interest in the sustainability of those clients' housing. You can go to the next slide.
Okay.
I'm putting my contact information here. If anyone has any questions on how our particular SSVF program works, on our housing strategy and landlord strategy in the area, you're very welcome to email me or call me. Also, I'm very open to suggestions. If anyone has any ideas for me, I would love to hear from you as well.
Okay, thank you, Brad.
You're very welcome.
Next is Corey Bookholder from Schindler Management Company in Lycoming, PA. I guess, Joyce, you can take him off of mute. Corey will talk about the successes of housing homeless families in Williamsport. And most of these are probably not veterans, they're homeless families. So I'm just going to keep this slide up for you, Corey, and if you're off mute, go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Corey Burkholder. I work for Lycoming County Children and Youth and Schindler's Inc. in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. I'd just like to talk about today the collaboration between Lycoming County Children and Youth and Schindler's Inc., which is a project-based Section 8 with 50 units. In 2014, Schindler's came to Children and Youth and requested that we assist them, or requested if we had any homeless individuals who would help fill their property and that they could assist with that. It was prior to them having a homeless preference. So what I did was I helped them write the definition for homelessness, which is will have a preference until reaching maximum threshold of 100% of the building for chronically homeless persons referred by the Lycoming County Children and Youth. And the reason we did that was because once you open your waiting list to having a homeless preference, everybody will line up and say they're homeless. So what we did was it was referred to, and we expanded on that to the 2 local homeless shelters as well. And to continue on with the definition of homelessness that Williamsport NSA Schindler's is using is household will be considered homeless based upon 1, a family with no permanent residence, example, living squatting with members and or friends, family members and or friends, sorry. 2, living and or squatting in an abandoned, condemned, unsafe infrastructure not suited for a habitat. And 3, living, squatting in a community public shelter, applicants must meet both program and project eligibility criteria and requirements, which is outlined in the tenant selection plan. And the reason we did that is we opened it because in the past it's been homeless is only living under a bridge or in an abandoned car. Well, we know that to be not true, especially with children and youth. Homeless is a residence of not your own, which is why we wrote it in that way. So the reason that housing opened up there and changed to the homeless preference is to accommodate Williamsport and Lycoming County to decrease the homelessness, to help decrease the homelessness. And a brief description of what outreach is with Lycoming County. Outreach is old-fashioned casework. We do everything from budgeting, housing, house cleaning, resumes. It's old-fashioned casework. It's not considered an open case with children and youth. It's a volunteer case that the families do. And in order to qualify for the homeless preference with Williamsport NSA, families have to have at least an outreach caseworker and commit to volunteer services for at least 6 months. So like Brad said, we want to maintain and make sure they're ready for independent housing, because if we just move them in, give them the keys, and turn the place over, well, they've been chronically homeless for multiple reasons. So we want to be able to support them for at least 6 months in their endeavors and find out what's going on once they get to place and help them get over the hump of not being evicted, not being homeless again. And another area that I wanted to talk about was the positive and negatives of the homeless clients that we were finding when we move them in. Prior to moving the homeless in, we were seeing in the public housing in Williamsport a high spectrum of crime, drugs, gangs, small gangs, and with the homeless, we were seeing a decrease in that and an increase in families who went to work and valued the education. They just happened to be homeless, so they were really enjoying and taking advantage of having a place of their own to live. The negative, or the parts they needed to work on mostly, was the housekeeping issues and the budgeting, which are two things that outreach stays involved with to help them with and get over that hump, which, you can work on housing and budgeting, and a lot of them, that is why they became homeless. And we added a piece to the application for homeless criteria to ask why and how they became homeless, so that we can work with them on their issues and get them to a point of stability and independence. And I think going forward, we will continue to do this. But the most important part in the collaboration, I believe, is the verifying the homelessness and getting them ongoing support. Because I believe that without the ongoing support and without the families agreeing to the ongoing support, all they're doing is continuing to set themselves up for failure, which is what we don't want. We want this, like Mike and Brad said, a win-win scenario, to where we move them in, give them independent housing, and eventually become even more independent past subsidized housing. And we attach them and help them find programs within the community which match, savings and financial. So the umbrella is limitless once we get them and identify them and turn them over to the housing and connect them with services. And I believe that's it, Lynn, that I have.
Okay. I think that one other thing maybe you can mention is about what the tenants turned out to be like. I think I remember the word from a previous presentation we did together as grateful and good long-term tenants. Is that
accurate? Yeah, absolutely. We're getting a lot of not just the tenants, but also into the school administration, churches. Very, very grateful, because a lot of these families, unlike popular opinion, these families, have a lot of pride and a lot of resources to move forward once they have access to having their own place. So, yeah, very, very grateful and very appreciative of getting their own place and maintaining it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Corey. Now I'm going to introduce Mike Simmons from CRM, and I'm actually going to physically hand the phone over to him. That's a very large management company working in multiple states, and Mike is the president. We've worked together for many years, and here you go, Mike.
Thank you, Lynn. Might be able to listen. Good afternoon. The goal I have during my brief comments in our webinar are to first speak to the steps that can be taken by management companies to successfully initiate and achieve positive program results in housing the homeless, and also in partnering with the related supporting agencies. And secondly, to convey the importance to everybody about having an individual or individuals within your organization to serve as a champion or champions for this effort. And in my comments, you'll be able to hear a little bit more about that. Here in the Philadelphia market, where we operate several properties, we worked with several agencies. We worked with Brad's organization. You heard from him a little earlier. So we worked with the Philadelphia Alliance for Supportive Services for Veteran Families, Project Home Free Housing Program, the Philadelphia Housing Authority, the City of Philadelphia Office of Supportive Housing, and obviously the Philadelphia HUD Office. And more importantly, at least from my end, the team members in my own organization who served as champions for our effort in placing our first homeless individual were a very committed and dedicated on-site property manager at a Section 8 senior housing property here in the city of Philadelphia called St. Matthew Manor. and secondly was our own corporate director of occupancy and compliance, who played a key role in the early qualification steps for us to participate. I'll just quickly outline steps taken to successfully place our first homeless resident, who just happened to also be a veteran. First, we had to obviously be introduced to HUD's program, its guidelines and parameters. And I'm going to be quite honest with you, I was very skeptical at the outset. I was worried. We all have the mindset and the visualization of what a homeless person is. And as Lynn said earlier, there are many circumstances that can lead to a person finding themselves in the genre of being homeless. So we had 2 meetings here in the Philadelphia HUD office with HUD staff members and members from the various cooperating agencies that I just mentioned. And after hearing the structure of the program and understanding and how it would work exactly, we really got enthusiastic about it, and my director of occupancy and compliance especially. Then we needed to select a property or properties that we thought we could approach our clients with to get approval. And we were successful in meeting with the board of directors of the St. Matthew Manor, which is a small 40-some unit senior citizen property here in the city of Philadelphia. And the board of directors gave us approval to go ahead and take the steps to go ahead and place a qualifying homeless individual into their building. Now, if I could just take you through the step-by-step action steps, which I think is very important because we've kind of gotten this down to a science now. And it's good to have a roadmap so that you aren't involved in duplicative efforts or go down the road in the process and find that you've missed a step. So in order of execution, obviously we first had to get permission from be approved by the Philadelphia HUD office. So we submitted our request into Randy Sheets, as Lynn has mentioned earlier, to qualify and receive the homeless preference for St. Matthew Manor. And we were successful in so doing. As a matter of fact, it came in on the 8th of August of 2014, and they quickly turned around the approval in a little over a week for us to proceed. We then spoke with Philadelphia Housing Authority and gave them our tenant selection criteria for St. Matthew Manor. And then we began to interact with Project Home Senior Case Manager, who began working closely with St. Matthew Manor to find an applicant that would fit our criteria. And the challenge being that, this is a senior building for residents 62 years or older. The caseworker that we work with came up, found an applicant that fit our criteria, and the Philadelphia Alliance for Supportive Services for Veterans from Project Home wound up assisting us with the applicant. It just happened that we had just come about and created a vacancy. We had a vacant unit at St. Matthew that was the ideal scenario. The preliminary interviews were done, with the resident, all the necessary paperwork was presented, verifications sent out, criminal and credit check performance, due diligence was completed, and people at Project Home required a couple of pieces of documentation for us, being our City of Philadelphia rental license and a sample of our lease agreement, which we happily provided. And here's where a champion for the cause really stepped up. This committed on-site property manager went about securing and acquiring furniture being donated from a past resident who was deceased, and there was some furniture left behind, and the resident's daughter donated it, and we had it cleaned and sanitized to make sure it was void of any substances or any infestation. So we had furniture. She went out and secured microwaves, television, dishes, pots, pans, a coffee maker, utensils, all the way down the line from various business partners, vendors and suppliers that we do business with who wanted to be a part of this initiative, and people that just volunteered and donated some things to her. Obviously, we had to have the apartment up to standards in terms of being clean, carpet clean, repainted, cleaned and sanitized to proceed and meet housing quality standards. That was done. The furniture was set up and put in place, and the resident was then accepted and moved into St. Matthew Manor, which we were very happy about, and it met a real need for us. If you manage senior properties, or if you are involved with properties that have efficiency units in it, sometimes these senior properties find those units very hard to fill, and this is where the kind of real win-win scenario could come into place. You have a difficult apartment to get occupied, and in many cases you will have a single individual who is just looking for a space like that that would be ideal for them to come off of the homeless rolls. So that, in a nutshell, is kind of our story of success. From here, we've placed other individuals. We've also, I found out a few months ago, we work with other HUD offices. We placed a homeless individual following much the same roadmap that I just laid out down at a subsidized family property that we manage down in the U.S. Virgin Islands. So it's a company-wide effort with us. We're happy to be partnering in it. It's gotten good results so far for us and our clients, and we look to try to expand. So that's kind of my story, and I'm sticking to that, and I'm going to hand the phone back to Lynn Kirschenbaum now. Thank you.
Lynn, do you mind if I just jump back in here again? This is Brad.
Go right ahead, Brad.
Michael, it's so exciting to hear you say those things, and I think that it really, we haven't spoken before, but I can vividly remember this placement that you're speaking of at St. Matthew's and the way in which one of our case managers worked on it. And for us, this is like the key to what this whole webinar is about. This was an effective, quick, and quality placement that was huge for our homeless individual, but what I'm hearing from you is that was also particularly helpful to you guys as well. So I think that this is literally the perfect example. Like, here I am on one side of things with the homeless individual, very excited about having access to a place like St. Matthew's for this client in particular, and then it's so wonderful to hear you say about how important this felt for you and your agency as well. I just think this is really the perfect example of an actual case where this has worked out.
Thanks, Brad, and thanks, Mike. What I have right here for those of you who are on the phone who might be management agents is a very easy form to fill out and email to me for Eastern Pennsylvania or Jane Miller for Western Pennsylvania, and we'll follow up with a team meeting to provide more details. We can come to you. If you are a COC interested in starting a program and not a management company, you can ask your HUD multifamily rep or your HUD CPD rep or PHFA or another member of our team to provide you technical assistance.
Len, can I add something real quick? This is Corey.
Sure. Go ahead, Corey. I
just wanted to add, if for multifamily or for family-based projects, I think it's important to have someone or something to verify the homelessness. I just wanted to add that because when you do open up to homelessness, if there's no way to verify it, all of your applicants become homeless. Unfortunately, it's the nature of what we do, and to keep people honest and to help serve the targeted population, I think finding a governing agency like Cumming County Children and Youth in Williamsport NSA have a collaboration, but there's multiple venues in multiple cities to where you can do that, homeless shelters, social service agencies. I just wanted to add that on there, that I think that's one of the most important pieces.
Yes, and that's interesting for a HUD program. This is from the multifamily division, that there's no definition that a management company has to use. You can pick definition for your community, and like you did, you picked a broader definition than the HUD Community Planning and Development HARSAC definition. So that's up to the community. And then once you pick that definition, then you definitely do want to be sure that that's verified. And that's one of the reasons that we have our meetings every 2 weeks, is to be sure that the referral agencies have the people that fit the definition available when we are getting the referral. So now it's time so thank you all presenters. It's time for questions, and I guess I'll have to ask Joyce how we do this. I see that there have been some questions coming through the chat. Joyce, do you want me to address those first, or?
Yeah, why don't we do that, and then we'll ask people to unmute themselves and ask a question. I can actually read the first one. It's from Kiva White. Are you able to furnish a list of property management companies that are open to serving homeless families?
Okay, so we have in one of the slides the successes. It lists the management companies who are participating in eastern Pennsylvania. So we can get the list of those that are participating already in western Pennsylvania. We're still pursuing additional management companies and setting up meetings. But so if there's a management company that you know of and you want us to come as a team and do a presentation, we can do that. But you can start with those that are on the list. Which county I guess you can let me know what county.
Kiva, if you want to unmute yourself, do *7, and you can talk directly to Lynn.
If you want to tell me what county you're from, then we can look at what management companies work in your county.
Okay, well, we can follow up
come
with
back
Kiva.
to that.
Yep.
Okay.
Then the second question was from Benita Cummings. Is there in these programs support or incentives to property owners doing full gut rehab of units, single-family, multifamily, vacant land, that units can be built, et cetera, to expedite having many more units become available?
Well, I wish
Benita?
I could say there were, but at one time there is a possibility that, again, I know you're in Pennsylvania, and I don't know if you're in the east or the west side, but there is a possibility for the HUD office to increase the management fee of a property management company if they, for certain incentives, the property still has to be able to afford that. But so far, none of the property managers have asked for that. Well, I think Mike's writing something down. We actually did have a few questions about that, although some management companies proceeded anyway. But as far as for development, there really isn't anything right now for that. No. And I guess for all of you, I have my contact information on the slide, so feel free to email me with more specifics, and I can give you some more information.
Benita, did you have a follow-up question for Lynn? If you do *7. And for other folks, if they have questions, hit *7.
Hello?
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm trying to understand something else is not perforating.
Is that Benita?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just trying to, get some clarity around particularly development. There are in Philadelphia, PHA had auction sales, and there are a lot of owners that got involved in that and purchased properties in really like in bulk. They weren't just like one unit. And I just was trying to see if, in a way to expedite the availability of more units becoming available, if there was some incentive or financial support within the structure of these programs to get those units up and, to help them to move more quickly, I think, than maybe they can move depending on how many units they were able to get.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's even something that moving forward may be a consideration for your program. Because there's a lot of people that have stuff, but getting it developed.
Right. There would never be development costs because this is an asset management program. After it, the incentive would be, if we move ahead with them, would be for properties that already exist or newly finished, and so there wouldn't be any development costs. But I might want to, if you want to email me about some other things that we're working on that are related to that with developing new units for homeless occupants. We have a committee under our Dedicating Opportunities who's exactly working on that option. So I'd like to talk to you further about that.
And we have about 4 minutes left. We did have a question, a good question from Gigi. How does the agency guarantee the homeless veteran does not default when the financial support stops and therefore become homeless again? And she's had that experience. And Benita, I can send you Lynn's contact information too.
Yeah, we do have a slide with it on, not with all of our contact information, but we're talking about a long-term subsidy. I don't know if that was your experience with the subsidized property. It's a project-based subsidy that's going to continue, and if it doesn't continue, if the mortgage ends, and somebody from our multifamily department can jump in here, then or if a landlord prepays or if the subsidy goes away, then that person gets a voucher. So in this program, that's not really going to happen. That are you talking about are you talking about the financial support of having a subsidy or the financial support of the veteran's income? When you say when the financial support stops. So the property is always going to be subsidized if that's where we've housed them. But if an individual resident has a decrease in income, then their rent is recalculated and it's decreased. So I'm not sure if you're talking about the resident or the property.
Sounds like she's saying it happened twice, but with both things. But Gigi, if you want to unmute, do *7 on your phone.
So
anyway,
you can also follow up with me. But if in this, we are working with both subsidized and unsubsidized properties because sometimes a person will bring a veteran supportive housing voucher to an unsubsidized properties, and that's where their subsidy comes from. But in both cases, with the vouchers and with the project-based subsidy, that's going to be continuing. That's not going to go away. And with the resident income, like I said, that would mean that the rent calculation would change. So Gigi saying I'm pressing *7, but I can't.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Oh, now I can hear you, yes.
I think I had my phone on mute. I'm sorry. Just habit. Yeah, my question was the program that I had a veteran was they paid a reducing sliding rent for him. So they started off with 100%, then went down to 8% after a certain number of months until it went down to 0%. So the veteran was supposed to now become 100% responsible for their rent, and they were only able to pay rent for a few months, and ultimately had to be evicted again because they went for so many months without paying rent, and we couldn't find anybody else to help them out. So that's my question: is this different, or is that going to be the same thing? So it was like a revolving cycle as far as I was concerned.
I'm not sure if you're talking about a rapid rehousing program. Or
Lynn, I can take this question.
Okay,
I think this is an SSVF question.
Okay, go ahead, Brad.
So in this case, it sounds like SSVF or another veterans program moved a an individual, a veteran, into the property, and then as the temporary financial support from the veteran agency dwindled and the client was supposed to pick up more independence, that eventually it really didn't work out and the client didn't succeed. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so statistically, rapid rehousing and housing first initiatives like these are an evidence-based practice. I think that the situation you're talking about only really occurs about 10% of the time. But in particular, when we talk about how referrals come with supportive services, this is an example of what we're saying. So in this case, maybe the supportive services weren't as thorough as they could have been, but in most cases, I mean, I can at least speak for my own agency, that property managers who are encountering difficulties with their tenants are always encouraged to reach out to the client's case manager to sort of mediate the situation. Like I said before, veterans who are getting support are also getting training on what will be expected of them when they're tenants, and what are some of the responsibilities that they'll be required to fulfill once they move into units. And in general, like I just said, it's really a rare case. It's about one or two times out of 10 would this sort of thing happen, but in most cases, that veteran should be connected to some kind of social worker who would be able to sort of mediate that situation.
Okay, thanks, Brad. And I guess that's one reason that we don't have a lot of units in this program. We keep getting more, but the referral group team is very detailed, and everybody's very clear about who they refer and how the service package comes with those particular people, and watch very closely from the management side and from the referral side. That case manager is always available. So in the program that we've been implementing, we haven't had any problems. I don't know if rapid rehousing in general, whether it's veterans or not veterans, has an expectation that after a certain period of time people are going to be able to have income. But from what we've been doing, we haven't had that problem. Are there any last questions? I think we're over.
Yeah, I think I need to conclude now. We will be sending out the information, the PowerPoint, and I just want to thank our presenters and Lynn for coordinating this great presentation. So I hope everyone stays cool, and thank you again for participating. Thanks, Lynn and the team.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joyce.
Thank you.